One of the assaults, the push right there where he puts her back in the car. You can see her kind of go after him. He's trying to get away.
This is her. It says, please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me that you won't be charged.
Then how dare you come home trying to disturb the peace of our house? I'm a great man. A great man. I am doing great things.
Inside a walk-in closet, his ex-girlfriend is sprawled across the floor, covered by a plaid blanket. She seems disoriented.
What happened exactly, do you know?
No, I don't know. She's unconscious.
How did those injuries come about?
I wish to God I knew. That did not happen.
Jonathan Majors is a popular actor here in Hollywood, and he's also a hypocrite, a man who speaks so fondly about his partner, yet gets physically violent at the same time. As I mentioned, Jonathan is an actor, and he's been featured in films like Creed 3, Low-Key, Lovecraft Country, Ant-Man, White Boy Rick, Street Fighter, and many more. In this next clip, you guys are going to see him speak about his fiancée and how much he loves her.
I love you. I love you beyond all limit. With all my strength, with all my heart, I love you. I'm supposed to be the...
He's crying so much, it almost makes me concerned. Like, are you apologizing at the same time?
tough and strong when you done carried me so many nights. I love you. Through the fire.
Now, he might have some really nice things to say about this fiance, but he's got a past, and he's been in court because of it. Let's go ahead and get into the allegations held against him. In April, Jonathan was sentenced to a year-long domestic violence program after being convicted of harming his ex-girlfriend, Grace. And it looks like he could face jail time if he fails to complete the 52 weeks of in-person counseling. He's also been found guilty of harassment, which I think is a charge we don't talk enough about, because it could really send the victim into some paranoia. Now, Grace is a movement coach, and they actually met on the set of Ant-Man. According to the criminal complaint, Jonathan hit Grace's face, twisted her arm, and fractured her finger during a fight in March 2023. It looks like there was a chauffeur in the car, so we've got a witness to this as well. The prosecutors allege that Jonathan engaged in cruel and manipulative patterns of psychological and physical harm. He even got physical prior to March 2023 when she found out that he had been cheating on her. So he got physical with her after he was caught cheating. Grace filed a federal lawsuit accusing Jonathan of harming her and defaming her, saying that she prompted his attack on her, that she was taunting him and getting violent with him, when that wasn't the case. It was just his PR team trying to save his name in the industry. She did an interview with Good Morning America saying he's not sorry and he's not accepted responsibility and he will do this again, which is so scary when you think of the Diddy's in the world, and she's really just trying to warn the next woman. Grace saw a text message on his phone from a woman writing, "Wish I was kissing you right now." When she took the phone from Jonathan to see who had sent the message, he allegedly began grabbing the right side of her body and prying her middle finger off of the phone, causing bruising, swelling, and pain. The actor also allegedly twisted her right arm before striking her ear. That's when he took the phone and left the car, and when Grace tried to follow him, he grabbed her, picked her up, and threw her back inside. The filing also references a surveillance video published by Insider in which you see Grace on the sidewalk after the incident. She's visibly upset, crying, and seeking help from strangers to get an Uber home. Jonathan walks by without stopping when Grace calls after him. Let's take a look at this footage together.
What the prosecutors allege is one of the assaults, the push right there where he puts her back in the car. But then what his team really focuses on is how aggressive she is here, and how you can see her kind of go after him, and they focus on the fact that he's trying to get away and she's going after him. And then we see more footage of her running after him after this. So as the Manhattan District Attorney's Office did, they zoomed in on this to really says is that he was simply just putting her back in the car, that it wasn't as aggressive as the prosecutors try to make it out to be.
Oh, this is a messy case, and it irks me when I see cases of DV, because it just shouldn't happen, and it happens too frequently. Jonathan is being tried on 2 counts of misdemeanor assault and 2 counts of harassment. Grace was able to get a temporary restraining order against Jonathan back in April. It looks like there's also a report from the London Metropolitan Police involving medical records, because it looks like back in September 2022, there was an incident that was not reported. We actually don't have the details of of that incident, but it's being used in Grace's favor. Jonathan is represented by a lawyer named Priya, who also represented Jen Shah of the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, which, not a good look because isn't she locked up? Priya said, unfortunately, this incident came about because this woman was having an emotional crisis for which she was taken to the hospital yesterday. The NYPD is required to make an arrest in these situations, and this is the only reason why Jonathan was arrested, saying that Grace is just unstable. Priya claims that it's not Jonathan who's the monster, it's Grace. She assaulted Jonathan while trying to steal his phone, a fact the actor's driver plans to corroborate. So it looks like they've got the driver, the witness, on his side. Priya claims that Jonathan ran out of the car and sent Grace a breakup text from a hotel where he spent the night. Grace later showed up to his apartment after partying at a club, called him 32 times, and accused him of infidelity. She even threatened to take her own life at some point. Jonathan came home that morning and called 911, according to the document, after discovering that Grace had taken a bunch of sleeping pills, that she was locked in his bedroom unconscious on the floor of a closet with a cut behind her ear and a broken finger. So maybe that's them trying to explain away where those injuries could have come from. I mean, it sounds like he is painting quite a picture. Priya provided a series of unverified text messages from Grace to Jonathan to the media that she says supports his version of events. Quote, they said they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me and they knew we had a fight. She writes, we'll make sure nothing happens about this. I told them it was my fault for trying to grab your phone. I only just got out of the hospital. Call me when you're out. I love you. People, this is not love. If you're watching this right now and you feel like your relationship is similar to theirs, please stop. Another text reads, they do not have my blessings on any charges being placed. I read the paper they gave me about strangulation and I said point blank, this did not occur and should be removed immediately. The text goes on to assure Jonathan that, quote, I'm doing all I can on my end. I also told the judge to know the origin of the call was to do with me collapsing and passing out in your worry as my partner due to our communication prior. We've got those text messages and here's a TikToker breaking it all down.
This is her. It says, please let me know you're okay when you get this. They assured me that you won't be charged. They said they had to arrest you as protocol when they saw the injuries on me and they knew we had a fight. Does this sound like, and then like she's like kind of panicky saying, you know, they told me you wouldn't be charged. I'm so angry that they did. And I'm sorry you're in this position. We'll make sure nothing happens about this. So she's letting him know, I'm going to say nothing happened. I told them it was my fault for grabbing your phone. This has domestic violence written all over it.
Now, Priya, the lawyer for Jonathan, claimed the body cam footage will show police that an officer had coached Grace to say that Jonathan grabbed her by the throat by touching his own neck several times when questioning her. Priya also accused Grace of faking her injuries. In a court filing, she pointed to security footage of her clubbing after Jonathan left her. So if you were so injured, why were you at the club? You could see her tucking her hair behind her ear, pointing with her index finger, and moving a lime aside to take a shot, and dancing with her hand in a ball and her fingers all folded in, which again would show that there's not really an injury there. In some other footage, Grace uses her right hand to put her hair in a bun and hold a cell phone, which defense says further is proof that she was uninjured. We don't have much of the audio, but I'm going to show you guys what we're working with. Here is an example of some clips of Grace.
According to Grace's testimony, she chased Jonathan for at least 2 minutes trying to get answers about the text and him cheating. At one point, she loses him on the chase and had to ask some strangers that she ran into to call her a car home.
No way. Oh, do you want to phone?
Okay. No, basically, I just have to run out of the car. I don't want to leave you because we're about to get in our car. We can't leave this girl.
Yo, bro.
And in this following clip, you could see that she runs after him. So clearly they are making a case that she wanted to be near this man who she's claiming inflicted pain on her. So, you know, you have to ask, but at the same time, a lot of people who are in these situations, they go back to the same monster who continues to harm them. Insider published selfies that Jonathan Mears took on the night of the incident, which are part of the defense's evidence that show a small scratch on his chin and scratch marks on his arm. And it looks like these are some scratch marks. I mean, you have to acknowledge that. I mean, I've been scratched before. I was actually just burnt. I don't even remember burning myself. Do you guys see it? It's like Oh my gosh, it hurts so bad. Right here? How did I do that? Now, this article reports that Jonathan reportedly filed a complaint against Grace at a Chinatown NYPD. This is after he appeared in court for a June procedural hearing. Insider reported that 2 precincts found probable cause to arrest the woman, though no arrest was made until October 25th when Grace presented herself at the department's 10th precinct. The district attorney's office said in a statement that it would not prosecute Grace since the charges lacked merit. So now we've got 2 people who used to be in a relationship with each other, and they've got a very strong case against one another. Prosecutor Michael Perez alleged that even before the March 25th incident, that Jonathan engaged in cruel and manipulative patterns of psychological and physical harm. He claims after the honeymoon period of their relationship that Jonathan became mean and controlling and even threatened to harm himself as a means of manipulation. In July 2022, in one incident, it looks like that Jonathan was so angry at Grace that he threw household items at the wall and shattered glass. A few months later, he alleged that Jonathan pulled headphones out of Grace's ears during an argument and said, "You're stupid if you don't know what you did was wrong." This was due to his jealousy and clear reference to race. The lawyer went on to say that there was not a speck of blood on her light blouse, no blood on her blonde hair, and no mark on her fair complexion. Whew. She asked how jurors could trust the credibility of someone whom Jonathan Mayer's driver referred to as Psycho Girl, and who woke up half naked on the floor of the actor's closet, confused about what happened the previous night. Priya, his lawyer, alleges that Grace sought revenge for her thwarted plan to become Miss Mayers by ruining the actor's lifetime of hard work. Quote, "This case is about the end of a relationship, not about a crime." Now, Grace did go into court, and she took the stand to speak for herself, saying, quote, "I felt like I had to be perfect. If I did one little thing or did the wrong thing, the temper would show. I wanted to avoid it." Jonathan got angry with Grace when she mentioned an ex-boyfriend and when poor cell service kept her from communicating with him during a music festival. The actor threw candles and shouted at her during a visit at his LA home in the summer of 2022. Grace claims that she went to the club for a couple of hours before returning home because she wanted to distract herself, and then she received a text message from Jonathan that he wanted to end their relationship. Her injuries came into focus later that night. Grace said her right finger had started to bruise and she noticed dry blood behind her ear, and she felt scared that Jonathan would come back and lock the bathroom door. Grace described waking up on the floor of the walk-in closet to a group of cops surrounding her. They took her to the hospital where she said the doctors treated her ear injury and took an x-ray of her finger.
Then how dare you come home drunk and disturb the peace of our house?
Marvel actor Jonathan Majors is heard yelling at his then-girlfriend Grace Jabari in a recording she made that was played for the jury during his domestic violence trial. The audio is among several pieces of evidence released today while Majors is on trial for misdemeanor assault and harassment in connection with an alleged attack on Jabari back in March. Majors is heard demanding Jabari behave like Coretta Scott King and former First Lady Michelle Obama.
Coretta Scott King. You know who that is? That's Martin Luther King's wife. Michelle Obama. Barack Obama's wife. I'm a great man. A great man. I am doing great things, not just for me, but for my culture and for the world.
It's always weird when we hear audio clips like this. Like, I wonder, is it coming from a ring footage or was Grace recording the interaction? During cross-examination, so when Jonathan's lawyer asked Grace questions, she attempted to establish that Grace had a drinking problem. The defense lawyer said that Jonathan was upset by her drinking, to which Grace responded, "He would get upset with me and use drinking as an excuse for that." Priya claimed that the couple had an argument earlier in March, after which she said Grace drank a bottle of wine before attempting to drive a car. Grace said, "I don't remember that at all," which, if you drink a bottle of wine, you probably didn't. Priya also tried to cast doubt on her account of these injuries, saying that she spent an hour pointing to the uses of Grace taking her right hand and going to the club and putting her hair up in a bun and all of this, saying that, she couldn't have been that hurt, even though that one cut on her ear is pretty clear. Grace said that she hadn't been touching the injured spot on her head. "I wasn't focusing on the pain. I was just trying to have a nice time." Which is a little bit weird. I mean, I feel like after a fight, I have to go and lock myself in my room and just like cry until I feel better. I can't just go in club. Priya also pointed to inconsistencies between what Grace told police and what she said in her testimony. The defense lawyer wanted to know if Grace had asked the cops whether Jonathan had hurt her, how she ended up in the closet, or told them that she didn't remember how her finger got hurt. When Grace said she couldn't remember, Priya showed her an officer's body cam footage. Grace began crying and said multiple times that she didn't want to watch it again. Afterwards, Priya asked, "Isn't it a fact that you told police you couldn't work out where your ear hurts?" "Yes, that's true," Grace responded. When a small portion of the body cam footage was played to the jury, Grace winced and began to cry again. Here is some of that body cam footage.
The video shows Majors inside the apartment he shared with dancer Grace Jabari. He's followed up the stairs by NYPD, and what they find is jaw-dropping. Inside a walk-in closet, his ex-girlfriend is sprawled across the floor, covered by a plaid blanket. She seems disoriented. Majors called 911 after he discovered her on the floor.
That is pretty hard to watch. I mean, what is she doing laying back there? She seems just completely out of it. The defense lawyer also asked Grace about what Jonathan had paid for over the course of their relationship, including a birthday trip to Hawaii and flying 7 friends to New York. Priya said that on the day of Jonathan Mayer's arrest before the attack, Grace referred to Jonathan as my perfect man. When the lawyer asked Grace why she called him that, she said, he was my boyfriend and I loved him. In a few instances, Grace was crying so heavily that she had to leave the courtroom for a break. At one point, Priya brought up a note that Grace sent to her friend about how Jonathan may have thought she was dead when he couldn't get into their locked bedroom that night. Later, the judge unsealed text messages that he said helped explain why Grace was afraid of divulging information about the attack to first responders. The texts are from September 2022 and appeared to show Jonathan discouraging Grace from seeking medical treatment. Though the judge said that the specifics of what happened will not be allowed into evidence, a text reads, quote, you have no perspective of what could happen if you go to a hospital, Jonathan writes. They will ask you questions, and as I don't think you actually protect us, it could lead to an investigation even if you do lie and they suspect something. I will tell the doctor I bumped my head if I go, Grace responded. Why would I tell them what really happened when it's clear I want to be with you? So again, we don't know what happened in this incident, but we just have messages that kind of allude that there was something going on. After reading the text, prosecution asked Grace why she told medical professionals that she didn't know how she got injured. She said, I was scared of the consequences of it all. I still wanted to protect him, I guess. Dr. William, who evaluated Grace at the hospital, provided testimony about the nature of her injuries. The doctor glued a cut shut behind her right ear, a wound he said was consistent with an altercation. He also pointed to the x-ray that showed her finger was in fact fractured and said it was unlikely to have been self-inflicted because of how it was cracked. I guess like it didn't look like it was due to a fall. When Priya, Jonathan's lawyer, asked whether Grace's fracture could have been caused by someone twisting or squeezing her arm, Dr. William responded that neither motion can usually have caused a break. So the doctor also said the injury caused by a blow to the head usually results in bruising, in which Grace's does not have. It looks like the alcohol test they did on her did show she was at risk for a drinking problem. 2 other officers who responded to the scene also took the stand, one saying that Jonathan claimed that Grace was unconscious and had overdosed on sleeping pills and attempted to harm herself. The other said that he found a small amount of blood on the comforter of the bed. The prosecution's last witness, Grace's manager and friend, said upon visiting her at the hospital, Grace was half the person I'd seen before. She was upset and devastated. The defense called the NYPD detective who investigated Jonathan's complaint against Grace. The detective said that Priya filed the report in person with Jonathan present on a FaceTime call. The detective said it was uncommon for a defense lawyer to file a DV incident report on behalf of their client. An emergency room doctor who reviewed the photo of her finger injury said they did not think the dancer's hand or finger had been twisted. I don't know why we are just hearing a mention now that she's a dancer. She did not think the dancer's hand. Okay, I guess Grace is also a dancer. The last person to testify in defense was Jonathan Mayer's agent, Elon, who said that he was distraught on March 25th while banging his fist against the master bedroom door of the couple's apartment. So visibly upset, and I don't know if that's a good defense, like he's punching the door. Okay, we have gotten a lot of evidence involved in this case, including the 911 call that Jonathan Mayers made. Here is that call.
What happened exactly, do you know?
No, I don't know. She's unconscious. She's naked from the bottom down. She has a sweatshirt on. She's my ex-partner. We broke up.
He then explained how he couldn't get into the apartment.
I banged on the door. I've been at the apartment for about 40 minutes now. I couldn't get in. I finally went downstairs and asked the doorman to help us. They let me in via the handyman.
Now, at the end of this case, Jonathan's lawyer destroyed Grace, or at least she tried to. She tried to characterize her testimony as her white lies, her big lies, and all her pretty little lies. Priya disputed that she had gotten hit on the head by Jonathan, said the surveillance video showing Jonathan pushing the dancer into the car was just an attempt to protect her from ongoing traffic. Quote, you don't get to destroy people's lives with your fantasies, she told her. Grace is obviously an emotional person, many people are, but she cannot distinguish between facts and her feelings. She wants to make money. She also referred to Jonathan's race on multiple occasions, repeatedly citing how dangerous it is for a black man in America to call 911. She claimed the police immediately decided who they were going to call a victim and who they saw as a criminal before even hearing his side. The prosecution's closing argument was delivered by Kelly Galloway. She encouraged the jurors to focus exclusively on what happened between Grace and Jonathan. She said jurors only need to trust their eyes for the proof of harassment and replay the surveillance footage that shows Jonathan pushing Grace into the Escalade. Kelly also cast doubt on the defense witnesses, accusing them of paying an ER doctor $37,000 to testify. The lawyer noted that Grace did not call 911, initially worried about getting Jonathan in trouble and that she had nothing to gain from cooperating with prosecutors. The defense tried to paint her as a vengeful ex, a woman scorned, but that's not true. It's not consistent with the testimony that we're hearing from Grace. Now, nearly 2 months after the trial, the New York Times published an investigation into two ex-girlfriends of Jonathan Mears, Emma Duncan and Maura Hopper, who both came forward accusing Jonathan of physical and emotional harm. According to the Times, these women gave statements about their experiences. Emma alleges in her statement that in various incidents, the actor choked her, threw her across the room, and slammed her body into their mailbox. Maura claims that in her statement, she had removed the child she got impregnated with during their relationship, and that the actor would not pick her up after the procedure. The couple broke up, and that's when Maura began dating someone else they both knew. She alleges that Jonathan called her a really mean name and said, "I'm going to rip you out of my heart the way they ripped our baby out of you." So really, this isn't a good look when he's in court with Grace, and we've got two other ex-girlfriends who are ready to back him up. Rolling Stone did their own investigation and cited more than a dozen sources who claimed that Jonathan strangled one ex-girlfriend and emotionally harmed another. Though it did not include the first accounts from these women, I guess, you gotta trust Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone reported that the aggressive behavior on Jonathan's part during his time at Yale Drama School and various sets played out. People knew. There was no surprise that this was coming, one person told Rolling Stone. It always kind of felt like it was a matter of time because his behavior never changed. He's kind of a bad dude, and now it's catching up with him. The actor was dropped by his talent agency, Entertainment 360, and by his PR firm, although he is still represented by the talent agency WME. In June, Jonathan seemed to be prepared to launch his comeback. He was cast in a Martin movie, Merciless, and received an award for perseverance from the Hollywood Unlocked Impact Awards. Now, on January 8th, Jonathan Mears spoke out in an interview with ABC's Lindsay Davis, telling the anchor that he has never hit a woman and denied that he had ever gotten physical with Grace, and the only mistake he ever made was cheating. Here's a clip of Jonathan in his interview trying to explain himself.
She says inside the car, you hit her in the face, twist her arm behind her back, fracture her middle finger.
Yeah, that did not happen.
What happened?
She went to grab the phone. I held the phone. I pulled the phone back. She came on top of me, squeezed my face, slapped me. That's all I remember.
So she ends up with a 1-inch cut behind her ear.
Laceration, yes, ma'am.
Fractured finger.
Yeah.
How did those injuries come about?
I wish to God I knew. That would give clarity. That would give me some type of peace about it.
But you're confident you didn't.
I have no question.
Now, this is so much information to take in. I don't even know how you guys are going to make sense of all of this because I'm completely lost. We've got two really strong attorneys going against each other, but I feel like where there's smoke, there's fire. And there's no way that there are so many people saying, yeah, this man is aggressive, and he's not. Either way, I just hope that there are more instances where people feel empowered to go and stand up against those monsters who are holding them down. I've got my eye on Jonathan Mears now. It'll be interesting to see if he just is able to move past this and continue in Hollywood.
And this morning, the ex-girlfriend of actor Jonathan Majors has dropped her assault and defamation lawsuit. A jury convicted the Marvel star and Duncanville High School graduate on domestic violence charges against that same ex, and a judge sentenced him to a year-long abuse prevention program. Now, his ex filed those charges back in March and said Majors defamed her after that guilty verdict by claiming that he'd never hit a woman.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in a new one soon. Bye, guys.